Today on Soundtrack Alley, you'll hear as Erik Woods and I delve deep into the amazing film Jurassic Park from 1993. We'll discuss some of the innovative moves that Steven Spielberg employed to create such an amazing feature film, as well as a unique piece of movie magic wonder. We'll also discuss the fantastic epic score of the film and talk about some of the unused cues for the film. Sit back, relax, as the show begins now. Hello, I am your host, Randy Andrews, and with me is Erik Woods. Erik, I'd like to ask you, when was the first time you saw Jurassic Park?
Jurassic Park was like one of those moments where you'll always remember the first time you saw the movie. It's like watching Star Wars for the first time, or just experiencing one of those landmark films. So Jurassic Park was one of that, and I can recall traveling down to the theater, and I saw it with my brother and sister. It was about 2 or 3 weeks after the film had been released, and so there wasn't a lot of people in the theater, but we were one of the big ones. You know, I knew it was great. I just didn't know what I was going to see and expect to see, and it really was a mind-blowing experience. I think more so where I can recall how sound affected me. Not so much the music, which was brilliant, and I already knew about the music beforehand. I had the soundtrack, or before I saw it. And the score is amazing, of course. But this is the first time I really kind of felt sound in a theater. We didn't have a lot of great movie theaters where we were living. And there were there were the multiplexes that had only like 1 or 2 of the big theaters that had the huge sound systems, and the rest were like these small little theaters that you sometimes might get a 5.1 surround mix, but this is kind of at the beginning of that whole digital age, which started with Batman Returns. But I can remember the thump of the Tyrannosaurus walking and feeling it vibrate through the seats. And not in any way that it just felt like a wall of sound. I felt the steps, and the mix in the film is extraordinary. And so while the visuals were just mind blowing as well, and again, for years, I tried to figure out how in the world they made animatronics walk as smoothly as they did. And then to find out later that it was CGI. And I'm like, again, being ignorant of all that sort of stuff was actually quite magical, and you kind of wish you can go back to that and just kind of experience it without going, well, that's CGI, that's this, that's that. You're just in awe, blown away. I would say it's the same way of anybody seeing Star Wars, where you're like, how in the world did they do that? And that's a really special part of the movie, and that's what I felt. It was like, how did they do that? But then I also had this experience with the sound that I had never experienced before. And I didn't get to see a lot of movies back then. I didn't go to the theater a lot. And so that was a special experience, and just remember being absolutely blown away, and I couldn't wait to see it again. And unfortunately, the next time I saw it was on VHS. But if I could ever go back to the theater and watch it one more time in like a great setup, like with a huge screen, great sound, I'd be first in line. But it was a fantastic experience. It just, again, it's ingrained in my brain as one of the like happy moments, real happy moments. Just love that feeling of experiencing a movie of this sort.
Yeah. For me, I was 15 and I was with my dad at one of the only DTS theaters in the city of Omaha. And it was like AMC theater, but it really blew my mind. I couldn't believe how amazing the sound quality was. Like you mentioned, the thump of the T-Rex and the different sounds that were included in the film and how clear everything was. And you could hear the scratching and things like that. And I knew that if I saw the movie again, I would never grow tired of it. And I ended up being able to see Jurassic Park in theaters 3 times. Not all at the time when it came out. First was the DTS theater, and then the second time I was at a dollar theater, and it was not, a superior experience. And then the last time I got to see it in theaters was at, I think it was some theater in Omaha, but I can't remember where, and it was in 3D.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right.
So that was unique. It was a very unique experience. And I mean, yeah, it was 3D, but it's Jurassic Park. So it was just amazing besides that. And one thing that really blew my mind was looking back on Jurassic Park and how this movie, it revolutionized animal behavior, and how Steven Spielberg wanted the dinosaurs to be real animals. Because we've seen other films that had animals in them that they'd be slow moving because either they'd have animatronics or they'd have animated dinos or animals or whatever, But Jurassic Park changed all of that because they were fast moving, they were athletic. It was really interesting. The paleontologist Robert Baker, and that was what he came up with. He was showing that dinosaurs could actually do that. And I was just, I read about that later, far later after Jurassic Park came out. And I liked how Steven Spielberg wanted his dinosaurs to be fast-moving, to be warm-blooded predators, and if the T-Rex was in the rain, was cold-blooded, it couldn't do anything because, it's cold rain, so it's I don't want to be in this. And so with it being warm-blooded, he could move, he could do things. So this breaks us right into a discussion about the almost split-second transition of what Steven Spielberg accomplished with movie magic between animatronic and CGI. Because wouldn't you agree that this film changed the industry for computer-generated effects?
Yeah, Phil Tippett called it Black Monday when he found out that Jurassic Park was going all digital, because the initial setup was going to be Tippett doing stop motion. And I mean, that was the technology at the time. That would have been
horrible.
Yeah. And I mean, Tippett's a great animator. We've all seen his work. I mean, his Ed 209 in RoboCop, and, he's a protege of Ray Harryhausen. And he knows his craft. He's very good at it. He's an incredibly skilled animator. But, ILM had been working on, CGI for quite a while. Dennis Murin, the genius over there at Industrial Light and Magic, ILM, I can't remember. I think that's either the first ever computer-generated character was developed by ILM and put into young Sherlock Holmes. Mm-hmm. And once you saw the Knight, yeah. And so once you see that, you're like, okay, we're moving forward with this. And then, of course, you have the pseudopod I think it's called the pseudopod, or it's whatever that, the alien into that worm-like water creature is going through the facility in the abyss. And, to scan someone's face and have that projected onto the water surface or within 3D space and make that convincing.
Oh, yeah.
And then, of course, developing that further with James Cameron in Terminator 2. Here you had to, and the thing is, all of that sort of stuff wasn't, quote, real life stuff. The night was glass panels coming to life in Young Sherlock Holmes. You had water simulation in The Abyss, and in T2, you have this metallic figure who's walking like a human being, but is not a human being. Here you have to somehow, in CGI, craft characters that are once real and are believable on screen. And so I'm trying to think of whether this film, would work with stop motion, but it's the best decision that was made by Dennis Muren, or at least Steven Spielberg, after seeing Dennis Muren's test of I think it was a skeletal run cycle, and knowing that you can get smooth motion, convincing animation that would work and work in conjunction with your actors on screen and work seamlessly with your animatronics and be believable, both in darkness and in daylight, and to be convincing enough for people to, like me, to go, how in the world did they do that?
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's so nuts because that's CGI in its infancy. And to this day.
But it was so good.
Well, it's so good, but it still holds up to this day. Like you watch how many CGI characters and movies and things like that where you're watching it and it just looks like crap. But you go back to 1993 when they kind of first started developing this stuff and they said, yes, we're going to make CGI warm-blooded characters in full frame, in daylight, darkness, whatever, and make it look convincing and still be that kind of benchmark that you reach for every film that you're making to have convincing characters or CGI animals or whatever. And you're always going back to Jurassic Park. That's its legacy. That's this film's legacy. And it's still, every time I watch this movie, I'm still watching the sequences and I know which is an animatronic, which is a CGI character, but I'm just so blown away by it because the first time I ever saw anything from Jurassic Park was the commercial, was the trailer on TV. And I saw the part where the T-Rex is walking across in front of one of the Jeeps during the initial T-Rex attack. And I'm just like, how are they getting something that big to move that smooth? I just don't understand. And then, of course, when it's, all revealed later on with this, and I saw a making of Jurassic Park on television, I was like, what is this? Computers? What is this? But it's also the editing. And but the great thing,
the split second editing.
Well, and the great thing about this is reference for animators, and animators have been doing this for a long time. Even hand-drawn animators they'll go to the zoo if they have to draw an animal and watch how they walk and interact and move, and then they'll mimic that in their animation. And that's what they're doing here, and they still do that to this day. You want to create a realistic looking CGI character on screen. It's mimicking, or at least having a reference of movement, also reference of light, and all that sort of stuff to get it real. I mean, there's so much that goes into CGI, even the bad stuff. No matter how crappy it is, they're still trying their best to make it look real. But yeah, Jurassic Park is the benchmark of CGI characters, and I think how to use it correctly as well, because it's not used all the time. And even the stuff that you don't even realize is computer generated, including the Jeep that the T-Rex is gnawing at after he flips it over, right? And he gnaws at the tire, and it's a computer generated T-Rex, but it's also a computer generated Jeep. And that blew my mind too, because I was like, how in the world did they do that? So yeah, everything about what they did in this is perfect. And I feel bad for Phil Tippett, even though he was the animation supervisor. He knew his career was finished after saying that they're going all digital. I feel really bad for him.
Yeah. Well, because also, I mean, the thing about this movie that was so astounding was not only the CGI, but the level of animatronics that they use. Yes, the T-Rex had very, very bad days, malfunctioning. I think Kathleen Kennedy had put it The T-Rex went into the heebie-jeebies sometimes, scared the crap out of us. We'd be like eating lunch, and then all of a sudden a T-Rex would come alive. It weighed 12,000 pounds, and it was extremely powerful, and they had to roll it around on a truck for the animatronic T-Rex.
Yeah, because I'm not sure whether they built that thing in full. I know they had the foot, the leg. I think they had the torso. I don't think
they had the head.
Yeah, and the head, and I don't think they did a full. I don't know if they have a full. Maybe they have a full body. I'm not sure. I don't know.
I don't think it was a full body, but most of it. I mean, they really used a lot of elements of, I mean, it just was astounding. And then the Triceratops, that was a full animatronic. That wasn't even, CGI. It was all animatronic, but they made it look so real.
And it's so simple, right? All you have to do is have it breathe properly, and that, well, no pun intended, but it breathes life into the character. It's a character. And so you have it reacting as if an animal would. And it's nothing overly complicated, I think, about it, because it's just the breathing, it's the moving of the foot and the eyes. I mean, I'm sure a lot of crazy technology went into that, but there's just simple movements that make that animal feel like it's real. I mean, it's actually there too, and that's super important. The actors can interact with it. But yeah, that's such a great moment in the movie as well.
Yeah, and I think they did that the same with like creating portions of a raptor, the raptor head or the raptor foot. Because you never saw the full raptor unless it was CGI.
Yeah, well, yeah, when it's in kind of like that full motion, having to do some crazy things that you couldn't do with that whole raptor attack sequence at the end. Another example of just a brilliant combination of animatronic and CGI.
Split second, yeah, like the point where the raptor sticks his head up into the duct, and Grant he hits the raptor in the head with his boot, and then the raptor falls down, and then within that split second they switch it to a CGI raptor, and it's just
and I think the illusion would have been destroyed with stop motion. I definitely would have.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing you can do in stop motion to avoid having that jerky look to it. Although I love stop motion. Love stop motion movies. I love the old school stop motion in those old, B monster movies, stuff that Tim Burton has been doing, the stuff that, what's that company out in Portland? That does Kubo and the Two Strings and
Leica. Yeah.
Leica. They're doing extraordinary stuff within their own kind of world of everything being, stop motion along with some CGI. It's tough to make it completely convincing, especially with real characters. I mean, that's why, that's why the AT-ATs work in Empire Strikes Back. That's why the Ed 209 works. The machinery you can do in stop motion and you're fine. But Jurassic Park, it wouldn't be as special if it wasn't full CGI, or not full CGI, but at least that technology in the movie.
Yeah. We could go on and on about
we also have,
amazing that is.
Well, we do have to give credit to Stan Winston. I mean,
because Stan Winston, I mean, he and his team, they spent a year on the research and consulting with paleontologists, museums, and even his artists created the sketches and renderings that would compile the scale sculptures of the T-Rex.
Yeah, he was a genius. Sorely missed when he died. But back then, you're in a time period where you could almost, the special effects people were celebrities as well, and you can name them by name. You knew the likes of Dennis Muren and Stan Winston, Phil Tippett. I mean, nowadays you watch a movie and you're like, you don't know who that is. But back then, it's like any big special effects extravaganza, you knew it came from ILM. And it was very, very special, and you knew who was working on it. And Stan Winston was very much a a well-known name and a star based on his creations, the Predator and reworking the Terminators in T2 and just an absolute genius. And then coming up with the dinosaurs in this film and the technology behind it to make that all work. And again, we say that, the CGI doesn't work, then this film doesn't work. But if those animatronic dinosaurs don't work and don't come off as real, then, the illusion is broken. And it all worked absolutely perfectly on this movie. And everything start to finish is just, you just can't have a better production. It's so good. I mean, it's a classic today. Just a great big summer blockbuster movie that is really something special because of all the special talent working on it.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So one thing that I know we need to tackle, and this goes right into sound design, how the scene is laid out. It's important for this discussion about Jurassic Park. The element of non-music during the first T-Rex scene.
Yeah, that's something special. Music, again, we're talking about the illusion, and I just think that then becomes too much, because without it, you're in the Jeeps with the characters, you're with the kids, and you're experiencing what they're experiencing as if it was happening to you.
You get the real terror. You get the real scares.
Yeah. And that's where, just hearing the pitter patter of the rain on the cars, but then, to hear the big boom of the T-Rex coming closer and then, to hear its roar and just to hear all of that away from music. It's a great choice by Spielberg and Williams there. And the funny thing is that the major T-Rex attack in the next film is completely scored.
Oh yeah.
But the thing is, it works great. Mm-hmm. So I'm assuming that if there was music in this sequence, it still would be amazing. But I just think that it really takes some guts to say, hey, we're just going to step back and we're just going to let it play out. And we're going to let the kind of the rhythm of the edit and the sound tell the story here. And it's just as terrifying. I mean, it's as if John Williams decided, if we go back to Jaws, to not score one of the major attack sequences without Jaws' music. And I think that becomes more terrifying because you are not giving any sort of warning, right? When you hear the Jaws music. So there's no warning here, with the exception of hearing sounds of, oh my God, the T-Rex is getting closer. Where's the goat? And the thing, that's the goat leg is perfect. It's so, because then when it crashes on the top of the Jeep, that's your jump scare without any music. And then, the music then pops in right at the end of that sequence, and it's thrilling. Again, I would love to see that sequence maybe without music and see if it works just as fine. And I'm sure it would. It's good to know that that sequence wasn't even scored. It's not like they stripped the music away. I'm just glad that the decision was made. We're leaving that empty, and we're just going to let it play out the way it is.
That was just brilliant.
Yes.
The way it was set up, the way the sound design was, how Steven Spielberg invested so much creation of the DTS, because like you said, the rain, the car door opening up, or the car door even shutting.
Yeah.
The whole T-Rex head, and that was animatronic.
Yes.
But it was so clear, and it's like, and Stan Winston got the eye to dilate.
Yeah.
I mean, that was cool.
Yeah.
It still is.
It still is.
It still holds up, because it's like, how did they do that?
Well, and on top of that, you got to time it with kids, right? You got to time it with a kid who's going, you got to shine it at this point for this long. And then when we turn it off, we got to dilate it back. And it's, I don't know how many takes they did of that. But that, again, that just adds to the realism of the situation. You know, when you see those sort of little details. But you're right. I love the jerk reaction of the T-Rex when the door slams. Love the sound too. I mean, the sounds are so great. I mean, they're all natural sounds. I think it's a walrus.
There's several
different animals, but one of the most gentle creatures in the world, a dolphin, is the sound of a raptor, which I think is just absolutely crazy. But yeah, again, one of those great moments in cinema that you'll always remember forever is the first roar of the T-Rex. You know, when he comes out of the fence that he's ripped down, and he just kind of bends down and just lets out this huge roar towards camera. You're like, holy smokes!
Yeah,
wow. And again, it's like, if you don't get that right, if you don't get that sound right, like, what does a T-Rex sound like? You have no idea. And it doesn't sound like an old movie monster. It belongs to Jurassic Park. It's almost like a Ben Burtt's punch sounds from Raiders of the Lost Ark. You know, signature sounds that belong to specific movies. And the dinosaurs, I mean, you hear those sounds in other films all the time. But just to craft your own library of sounds and make that unique and say, yeah, those are Jurassic Park sounds. It's so good.
Yeah. The roar was a combination of dog, penguin, tiger, alligator, and elephant.
Oh, wow. So what was the walrus for? Because I know they make a huge, I think it was the growl, wasn't it? Like that really low growl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was. Yeah.
So cool. So great.
Yeah. It's just,
it's like even the sound of the brachiosaur at the beginning of the movie. I mean, that's what we're talking about. When I said like the big bang that I first felt rumble through my chair in the theater, it was the brachiosaur, not so much the T-Rex. So when after he or she raises her neck up and tries to eat the top part of the tree and then comes crashing down and everything shakes, that was just wow. But the sound of hearing her, stride along across the camera. And when we first see the dinosaur, the brachiosaur, it's just this whale, this wonderful whale. And wow. So exciting.
Yeah. Again, we can really appreciate the level that this film had on pop culture, on everything. Like, it changed. Like, it surpassed every single record for the time. Mm-hmm. And even with the music, that we can really now talk about that to really get into it. So when we think about some of the things that John Williams has done and the different things that he's employed for different films, Jurassic Park still is kind of anonymous by comparison, because it has this rare identity that John Williams did, I think anyway, that Jurassic Park has a brilliant score because it has some of the best pieces or cues that Williams has composed for themes for Jurassic Park. Does that make sense?
Out of his entire career, I mean, up to that point, I mean, think about what he had already written. And I mean, he was already a legend because of Star Wars and Close Encounters and Raiders of the Lost Ark and E.T. And, he'd written the most memorable Olympic music. Everybody knows the Olympic music because you hear it every 4 years on NBC. And he wrote that in 1984. And, there's up to that point. Then after that, I mean, you think about what he had written. You're thinking Space Camp, Witches of Eastwick, Always, Indiana Jones' Last Crusade, Hook, Far and Away. I would say that none of those reached the general public's conscience. I mean, you can't go out there and say, hey, sing me the theme to Hook or sing me the theme to Witches of Eastwick. I know us as film music fans, we can. But if you go up to someone and said, hey, what's the Imperial March? What's Star Wars? What's Raiders of the Lost Ark? During that time where John Williams could do no wrong between 77 and 84, I mean, most of those scores, the real classic ones, people can hum and sing. But, with Jurassic Park being such a cultural phenomenon around the world, that's where you kind of get to the point where even the music itself is going to transcend the movie. And I mean, to this day, I mean, it's become a meme almost, the music. And it's funny. It's actually funny, some of the memes I've heard. But I mean, the themes are, you hear it, anybody can say it's Jurassic Park. And they won't get confused with, like, if someone hears Superman, I mean, again, not just a film music fan, if someone hears Superman, they'll say, hey, is that Star Wars? No. If they hear Jurassic Park, if they hear any of the two main themes, whether it's the slow moving one for the dinosaurs or whether it's the island theme, they'll know it immediately. And so this is one of the first scores in close to a decade. And then, of course, he scored Schindler's List, that everybody can tell and know what it is. So yeah, this is one of those seminal moments in Williams' career again, and he had so many of them. But this is a classic. And to think it didn't get an Academy Award nomination, and I'm thinking that they didn't even submit it because Schindler's List was the one that they wanted to really win. But I mean, in any other year, this is the winner, or at least it gets a nomination.
It should.
But it's like, it's really tough to pick. Which one is it? Is it Schindler's List or is it Jurassic Park? Which one was the best score? I mean, think about the year. Think about that year. As a composer, you have both Jurassic Park and Schindler's List on your list of scores for one single year. Any composer would die just to have one of them. But Jurassic Park we were playing that theme in high school band, and I even learned how to play it by ear on the piano.
Me
and
too.
It was just so special. And it's a classic score. It's in that kind of that classic realm of John Williams scores. I mean, because his style started to change immediately after 93. I mean, he had a break in 94 and then he got back in 95, and you can hear the new progression of his style.
Mm-hmm.
And
because he did Lost World.
Well, he did
after that.
Yeah, and things are starting to become more rhythmic. Whereas here, I mean, you listen to this score, there's a ton of melody, and it's not only in the big set pieces like the Journey to the Island, but it's in the action music as well. There's a whole bunch of melody just ripping through this whole score, which is what John Williams used to do. But then he still wrote some great melodies, but you can definitely hear a stylistic change after this point.
Yeah, and it really did change after this film and after the music that he wrote for it. Like, who hasn't recognized the Remembering Petticoat Lane theme? You know, that simple, almost...
it's like a lullaby. But it's circus. It's a lullaby like circus music. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's a standalone theme that you don't hear again. Yeah.
It reminds you of Hook.
Very childlike.
Mm-hmm. And then, you get the major beefy moments with the raptor theme. And it's like a 4-note motif, you know, boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
Is that the sound of death?
Is that the Dies Irae?
Is that Dies Irae? Do. Yeah, I believe it is. Wow, we're talking Dies Irae in this
I don't
episode.
like talking about Dies Irae because everybody just brings up Dies Irae every time they hear these 4 notes in that combination, and sometimes the composer doesn't even mean it. And I can't recall Dies Irae right now. But anyway, it's an interesting point. The theme, though, I used to think it was the Raptors theme, but it's actually the Carnivore theme.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
because I hear it with the T-Rex.
For the T-Rex, too.
Yeah, and so I'm like, is he reusing the Raptor theme? But it's actually the theme for the dinosaurs, for the, oh my God, I guess you say the bad dinosaurs, but it's the carnivores. And that was something that I first read in the liner notes for the expanded edition of the score from La La Land Records. And I should have guessed, but I always thought it was Raptors. I always thought it was more, for the Raptors. Because Don Davis then in Jurassic Park 3 uses it again, but for the Raptors and not for the carnivores. Or not for the T-Rex or the Spinosaurus.
But so maybe he kind of
Yeah.
couldn't distinguish it, you know, maybe.
Sure. But anyway, I thought it was interesting that he wrote it for the carnivores. So, yeah. And it gets great use. I love it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's really fabulous. And the music that we're discussing today is from the La La Land Records release for the score.
Superb release.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's, it's kind of the way that I've always wanted to hear the score. I mean, there's times where like I don't mind some John Williams arrangements of albums, but I always felt like he kind of blew it with the first release of Jurassic Park. And we were just so familiar with it, but it just felt like there was wasted space. Just
oh yeah, and it was all over.
Things. Yeah,
it was all over the place.
Yeah,
like
and I can understand things being out of chronological order. Williams did that all the time, but the way that he labeled certain tracks, like the end credits weren't really the end credits. It was just kind of the last half of the end credits, when the end credits was actually a track called Welcome to Jurassic Park, which I think was in the middle of the album and only came a couple of tracks after Journey to the Island, when we already first heard all these themes.
Yeah.
And, then the theme for Jurassic Park was the second track of the album after the opening titles, those three big bangs. And it just felt overly repetitive, where you could have taken those things out. And I know John Williams sequences his albums for listening experience. And I think some of the edits are fine, but I just think that I was so utterly disappointed not to have the T-Rex chase music. It's not so much that it's mixed up. It's the
incident at Isla Nublar, and then you get the scene from the going to the
where they're checking on the car. Yeah. And I understand that. And I think that, and there's times where that bothers me as well. I just felt that some of that music, here's the thing, that opening track, that was the Isla Nublar opening music, which then segued into the Searching for Ian. But then that track just ends, and I'm just like, give me the last 2 minutes of that, which was the T-Rex chase with the Jeep. And when it ended, I can clearly remember hearing it. When it ended, I'm like, where is the T-Rex chase music? And for as long as that album was, and for as much as we got, and I mean, it's tough to complain, because with John Williams albums, he paid for it, because, recording in LA, it's expensive to release that much music. And that's why Saraband Records had 30-minute albums back in the 90s. It was so expensive to release that stuff. But John Williams was always giving us a lot of music on his albums, where they were recorded in London, where there were no reuse fees, or where it was LA, where there were. But, I didn't need like 3 or 4 different versions of the main theme.
Yeah.
And I just give me the T-Rex chase music. I mean, there's some albums out there where I'm like, I'm fine what you do. I'm fine with the way you edit it. I'm fine. But just why have you left that one piece of music out where it's so prominent? It's like one of the chase scenes. It's like, how can you leave that off? It's like leaving off the Falcon flight in the Rise of Skywalker soundtrack, where everybody knows that's one of the best cues from that score, and it's not on the soundtrack album.
It's not on the soundtrack album.
So Williams, I can understand and there's other times where I just don't agree with his editing. And I'm going to bring up the Desert Chase from Raiders of the Lost Ark. That original LP edit is just the worst. There's times where you don't need to edit things, but then there are times where leave some of this stuff off, like the 4th incarnation of the Jurassic Park theme, and just give us a couple of more score cues, and it'll still work. So the original album was a bit of a mess. And it's tough for anybody to defend John Williams' sequencing and decisions for that album. But now that we have La La Land's release in chronological order, it plays great, even as a standalone listen. I think it plays phenomenally well. I love it. I really do. They did a great job at La La Land Records.
Yeah, and I think they did a really good job with giving us the right music at the right times, even in the film, because didn't John Williams work closely with the sound editing team?
Yeah, that's something special about this film, and I don't know, and again, I'm not really sure whether John Williams did it on any other movies, but reading through, it's a great book that I got at the time when the film was released, called The Making of Jurassic Park by Don Shea and Jody Duncan. They did another one for The Lost World Jurassic Park. Great books, great insight on the making of the movies. And they have a couple pages dedicated to John Williams and the process of writing the score. And they mentioned that traditionally, the sound team would work on their own. John Williams would be out scoring, and then eventually everything would come together during the sound mix. And that's when composers and sound editors get really angry because, their scores usually get drowned out by sound effects, and they rarely win any arguments with the director on that. But for this movie, John Williams and the sound team decided that they were going to work together. And so they
What?
I know, crazy. They decided that working together earlier on and seeing a premix of the sound effects for the major scenes, then John Williams and this is sort of like a spotting session with the sound team. It's totally separate than the spotting session with the director, where John Williams can then look on the screen and go, okay, well, that's where there's a big sound effect, so I don't really need to have music there, but here's a break. I can add music here to lift that emotion. Oh, okay, well, here's where there's nothing going on. Maybe I can add something here. And so they were working in tandem to make sure that they weren't contaminating each other, for the lack of a better word, where their separate sounds could mesh and or be highlighted in various different ways, which I think is fantastic. What also was really great is John Williams actually wrote the score at Skywalker Ranch. He wrote it in the end of February of 93. And what was beneficial about that is that the sound team mixed everything at Skywalker Ranch, and John Williams had an office at Skywalker, so they could still work together. And John Williams could come over with a piece of music and, watch the movie with a premix and kind of see how everything was working and whether his music might work in the scene and whatnot. And so when you listen to the finished product, it's no wonder the score has so much life and so much breathing room, and that the sound effects, kind of back away during certain moments. I mean, Journey to the Island and that whole entire massive cue from when we first see the helicopter going to Isla Nublar, and then, getting into the Jeep and then seeing the dinosaurs for the first time and then making our way to the Jurassic Park compound. John Williams scores the star. I mean, the sound mix also is great as well, and we've mentioned that. But then, Williams just adds magic to it, and we can hear it. It's a big problem in movies these days, especially these big special effects extravaganzas where it's wall of sound, and sometimes the score is even fighting, it's overplaying, and it just becomes too much. Here, everything breathes.
Yeah, and a good example of there's a wall of sound is I know this is, the movie's not even out yet, or maybe it is, but Kong versus Godzilla, the trailer music. The trailer music is horrible because it's just so loud, and
you can hardly hear it.
Yeah. You
can barely hear it. It's, I don't know why anybody writes music anymore.
It's all noise. Noise.
We're going to get off topic just a bit, but in Godzilla King of Monsters, Bear McCreary wrote probably his career best score. Just this monster action score. And during the is it Rodan sequence, one of his best cues of all time. Mm-hmm. You can hardly hear it, and it is
because it's all
massive,
the sound,
and it's all the sound. But it just, I think everybody feels like you have to just push everything to 11, 12, 13, and think that a gigantic wall of sound is going to be the most impressive thing. And it really isn't. And it becomes annoying. It becomes tiring, very fatiguing, and music has no room Music, I don't even know why Bear McCreary decided to write anything for it. It just got drowned out, and most of his score gets drowned out. Most scores these days, especially for the big blockbusters, get drowned out. John Williams' score for Star Wars, I think even all three of them, the last sequel, were drowned out, completely drowned out. Music is just abused, and nobody shows it any respect unless then you get the opposite effect where Christopher Nolan overmixes everything and just destroys your eardrums. And, that's the issue with Tenet. So, but I mean, if you want to hear an absolutely brilliant mix, again, where you have the sound team in tandem with music, they did everything that they could to make sure that this all worked. And Jurassic Park is a wonderful example. It's still holds up to this day. Such a dynamic mix. It's so great. It's so refreshing to go back and watch a movie like this and hear it. And you're like, everything seems balanced. Where everything else is just like in your face, and it's so nice to have a real balanced dynamic mix.
All right. So, there was something that I was thinking about, and you probably know more about this than I do, but was John Williams the only conductor for the scoring sessions for Jurassic Park?
The answer is no.
Oh, really?
And I don't see this anywhere else other than in Artie Kane's book.
Okay.
Called Music to My Ears, Life and Love Between the Notes. Great book, actually.
Mm-hmm.
You get your hands on it. I highly recommend you check it out. A very unique individual. He did some orchestrations and conducting and things of that sort. But near the end of the book, and I didn't even realize that until I was reading it, there's mention about the Jurassic Park sessions.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, this is interesting. So I'll try to make it short, but try to include some of the funny moments.
Okay.
So, Artie Kane I'm not sure what he was doing at the time, but he gets a phone call from John Williams, and he essentially said, John Williams did, that his back gave out, couldn't get out of bed, and so that he needed Artie Kane to be at Sony's scoring stage to stand by for him. And I don't honestly think that he thought he was going to go there and conduct. He thought that maybe Williams was going to get out of bed and everything was going to be fine. So he got ready, went to the studio, and eventually ran into Ken Womberg, John Williams's music editor. And Ken Womberg says this, quote, "Hey kid, you got a 106-piece orchestra to play with today," end quote. And so Artie's like, well, where in the world is your boss? And Womberg's thinking, well, Steven Spielberg's in Poland. He's shooting Schindler's List. And he's like, no. Where's John Williams? He's like, well, John isn't even coming. He's still in bed. He can't get out of bed. So Artie's like, he asked me to come here to stand by for him. And he's like, no. You are actually going to be conducting. And so here you go. You have 106 players to play with today. So, I mean, I can't imagine how terrified
he would be.
You'd have to be, right? And here's the thing. This is day one of the recording sessions to Jurassic Park. And you're filling in for John Williams. Now, remember, Artie Kane has not seen a note of music. And that's difficult. I mean, it's already difficult for musicians who are the incredible sight readers, and they do this all the time. They see music and they play it perfectly after the first take. But as a conductor, not being able to see the score, the notation, time signatures, the everything, not knowing it inside and out and how to conduct it just, again, it must have been terrifying, because on top of that, you haven't seen the movie. So now you're trying to, whether he was playing to click or streamers and punches, it's just, I can't imagine how, again, stressful this was for Artie Kane.
Oh, yeah.
But, he got through it. And he started off, I think, the session with a crazy action cue. And there's this great quote in his book about how he was conducting. So while he was conducting, I think he said he was sight reading the full score for dinosaur chase music, some sort of breakneck speed cue. So he can see the orchestra, that they have their heads buried in the music. Meanwhile, they would kind of look up and all they would see is Kane just essentially, in quote, kind of looking like a traffic cop waving his arms through an intersection of roadblocks, while at the same time he's whipping over one page at a time with his other arm trying to get through the score. And there was times where, I mean, it was just so frenetic and so fast that he would skip pages while he was flipping. So he had no idea where he was in the music. So he would just keep on conducting. But thank goodness the musicians knew where they were. So Artie Kane conducted for 3 days. He conducted 3 days of sessions before John Williams finally returned. And I'm not sure whether this is anybody knew about this when releasing the La La Land Records album or whatnot. I don't see Artie Kane's name anywhere. I don't know whether he got credit or this was just kind of like, ghostwriting work, for the lack of a better word. But Artie Kane conducted portions of Jurassic Park, and I dare you.
That's really cool.
I dare you to pick out which tracks he conducted over John Williams. It's seamless, and so I don't get this idea that John Williams conducting his own music is the best version of John Williams music, because if you listen to Jurassic Park, Artie Kane conducted 3 days. So, and what was really neat about this too is that John Williams was listening to the whole session over the phone.
Oh man!
And so, because Artie Kane would come back and goes like, "Was that okay?" And they would talk on the phone, and John's like, "Yeah, that's fine, that's fine." So, awesome. Kind of a neat little tidbit of information as to a very special guest conductor on the recording of Jurassic Park.
So, some of the cues we're going to talk about, first of all, like we've mentioned it a couple times, is Journey to the Island. The score or the cue, Journey to the Island, is so grand and illustrious. It's brilliant and awe-inspiring. It's a gorgeous testament to John Williams being able to carry a theme, create a whole mood that makes even the island a character in respects.
Yeah, I don't know what I can say about Journey to the Island.
It's perfect. It's just It
Mm.
even John Williams plays it straight. Even in the comedic moments, there's still that wonderful music that you can hear, and it's showing the grand scheme of the island, how they have to drop, and they're dealing with the seatbelts and then it's not over. Like, it doesn't end with that. They get in the cars and they start driving, and then they get to the gate, and they're like, what do they got in there? King Kong, and it's just, John Williams plays it so straight, but yet it's so brilliant, and it's a wondrous piece of music that really ties the movie together in such an amazing way.
Well, what's really unique about this piece is we haven't heard any of the major themes up until this point.
No.
I'm not sure how long we are into the movie. Are we about a half an hour into the movie at this point? 'Cause we've gone through the exposition, and I just also love how it just explodes on screen. And then it just kind of, it's very calming, and you're really not 100% sure what you're going to experience. But you're right. They play the comedic music just right. But then it's, what's the line that Hammond says? Which
we'll have landed by the time you get it.
Well, no, yeah, but then he says, no, we're here. What's he say when he looks out the window and then
there
of course there, yeah. And so then, then what do we hear first? We hear the secondary theme, the island theme.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it is this just grand adventure theme. And there's no doubt in my mind Spielberg edited this for John Williams. He's like, here you go. This is my gift to you. Have fun with this. And Williams just crafts this stunning theme that, is just one of many And
yeah,
to
and
think
it
that,
has three parts. It has three parts to it.
And to think of the you got the island theme, and like, wow, that's great. I mean, any composer would die just to have that one in their movie, and then the helicopter lands, the Jeeps drive through, and then everything just kind of slows down once the Jeeps stop. And there is this sense of, there's a sense of mystery and dread almost, because we're really not 100% sure what we're about to see. Like, what type of dinosaur are we going to look at? Because everybody's kind of like twerk their head to the left and they're all in awe. Some great shots there of just seeing everybody just, in total awe of what they're looking at. And then just Williams turns on the tear ducts and you get this against what everybody thinks about dinosaurs. And they're not scary. It's just this majestic
yep.
theme that is so warm and so lovely and just so beautiful. But the thing about it is, again, he plays it right through that scene. He still manages to hit a sync point again when the dinosaur crashes, the theme ends, and of course we get the, how did you do this? Let me show you. But he's playing this beautiful theme through dialogue, through everything that we're seeing. And it's just so grand and beautiful and wonderful and whatever else you can say about it. But then we get this sense of urgency as well. It's like, all right, let's get going. Let's get to this. Like, well, what else is going to happen? And we watch the Jeeps drive to the compound, the visitor center. And the thing about this, and we were complaining so much about the setup of the original soundtrack that came out in 93. I am shocked that John Williams let this thing play from start to finish.
Oh,
because
yeah,
there's some incidental stuff in there that probably could have been chopped out that might not have worked with the flow of a proper listen. But I thought that, you could easily have ended this right after the playing of the Jurassic Park main theme before then going to the drive to the visitor center. But he left everything in. And that's one thing that I really appreciate about that album is that, man, that from start to finish is exactly how it is.
It's like an 8-minute cue.
And you know what? It's exactly how it is, as written as it is in the movie. I don't think there's any edits. And that's a rare thing that we rarely get in days today, where there's micro edits and little snippets here and crossfades and whatnot. It's played start to finish. It's so beautiful. And then that's where we are introduced to our two main themes. And there's, I'm trying to think of other great ways where you've heard John Wayne, like Imperial March, Star Wars, and even the Raiders March. Like these are just ingrained in your memories.
The map room.
Yeah. All that. Oh yes. All that sort of stuff. But it's just music plays such a key role in us feeling the way that we are supposed to feel about the dinosaurs up to that point. And we're watching all the Vegisaurs, veggies. What do they call them? Vegisaurus?
Vegisaurs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're watching the Vegisauruses out there, and John Williams is playing it just so warm and calm and lovely. And it just goes against everything. Like I said, everything that we know about dinosaurs to the point. And that's what's so great is that later on, the dread later on is scored so wonderfully as well.
Oh yeah. Well, let's go ahead and play that. We're going to play the Journey to the Island cue. So we've really been impressed by that cue.
It's a classic.
Say enough of that. The next one I want to really look at, and we get it in the film, but we don't hear it very well, is the falling car and T-Rex chase.
Mm-hmm.
Because we hear the opening part of that, because we've already heard the silence, like after Grant saves Timmy from the car and they climb down the tree and then the car falls on them.
Right.
But that's beside the point. It's quiet. It's a quiet moment, and then there's music, and then it's quiet again. But then Ellie and Muldoon, they are hunting for Grant and the kids, and then they come across Malcolm. And I think some of Malcolm's best lines are within the second half of the movie. Because I mean,
must move faster.
He's like, tell John I've had a lovely weekend.
Yeah.
And we have to go now.
Yeah.
We have to go now.
Yeah. What was he saying? He doesn't he like describe his emotion at the moment?
Yeah. He's like, I'm feeling slightly alarmed here.
That's right.
But even in the book, some of his best lines are quotes at the beginning of a chapter, or, he discusses chaos theory quite frequently. And this cue really develops chaos because of the T-Rex chase. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, this is one of those cues I was dying to hear, and I just thought it was the most thrilling thing I heard up to that point in the movie. And what I really love about it is John Williams' use of just these screeching, crazy woodwinds. It's so amazing. But even the rapid fire pace that he's playing the carnivore theme.
It's so fast and
fast.
Chaotic.
Yeah, but the orchestrations are just so incredible. It really adds. There's a real great sense of danger, but also excitement to the sequence. And it's only like a couple minutes.
Yep.
At the end of this track, but what's so great though is it starts with those low woodwind. I think they're like bassoon rumbles, right? When you hear the thump of the T-Rex, and they're like, right, and then you hear it again, and I'm like, oh, that's so awesome. Very kind of like Mickey Mousey, and that's where I'm like, the composer's having a lot of fun. Right. You're gonna hear the sound, then I'm gonna be like, hey, check this out. It's
he's coming.
He's coming. It's so great. But yeah, once that cue explodes, I was like, what is this? This is I've always loved John Williams action music, and this is one I was like, man, I can't wait to go home and hear this on the album. And it wasn't.
And
there.
You don't.
No.
But it's on the La La Land release.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
It's so cool too. It's so
wicked good. Yeah.
So fast and so quick, but it's like, oh my goodness, that's good writing.
Well, and the same thing for the falling car action sequence. It's so frenetic. Yep. It's crazy fast, and then there's some mystery music.
Yeah, it has those high screeching moments, right? Like there's you can hear the orchestra sort of descending along with the car coming down, and that's so John Williams. He's done that numerous times where he's followed vehicles or people descending. I mean, if you think of those long horns, those wild horns in Raiders when the Jeep falls off the cliff, or there's a portion in Minority Report during that whole fight sequence there where I think it was Anderton and one of the guys are trying to capture him. They're falling down from a scaffolding, and he'll run down the strings, right? He'll descend down them, and I love that sort of stuff. And he does that with the opening of this cue.
So if you listen for that, but I even like the mystery music, the kind of the searching music in between as well. That's really, it's really good stuff. And, yeah, there's no bad cue on this score, but this is one, yeah, I've always wanted to hear. And thanks again to La La Land for bringing this out of the vault.
Yeah, exactly. So now let's hear the falling car and the T-Rex chase. All right, so next, I'm not sure how to approach this cue because there's two elements to it. And when I was listening to Hungry Raptor, I was listening to it from the La La Land release, and then I listened to Raptor Attack. And I could tell a lot of the similarities between both cues. However, the frenetic chaos, which highlights the whole brilliant move in regard to incorporating the novel chaos theory that Malcolm brings out multiple times in the novel by Michael Crichton. You know, he brings up chaos theory so much in the book. And then you get that chaos by means of Hungry Raptor, which we don't hear much of. And then we get it also in Raptor Attack. Now, Erik, isn't there something about Hungry Raptor? Is there a reason why some of that was chopped out of the film?
It was. I don't know why, but it is. There's nothing really stated as to why Hungry Raptor was removed. But it is probably the most out there and different sounding of the action cues. Kind of streamlined, has this really weird sound to it. It's exciting. It's great. And the first time I ever heard it, though, was on that making of documentary that I saw on television. And they used this cue for the end credits of the and I'm like, what is this? But I thought maybe it was just someone writing some production music in the similar vein of Jurassic Park. It just sounded like there was some electronics in it and was kind of like, it was really strange.
Some synthetic elements to it.
And so then I found out that it was an actual cue that was dumped from the movie, and it was supposed to play over Ellie's battle with the Velociraptor after she restores power back to the park. And so I tried to put it up against the picture, and it really doesn't work. And so this is a case where Spielberg made the right decision to
just use like Raptor Attack.
Yeah. And so that's one of those times where I'm like, yeah, that's a good idea. But it's still super fun. It's a super fun piece of music. And when I, again, finally heard it for the first time away from the movie, it was great to have it. And then to realize that it was a John Williams piece, I was like, wow, this is something quite different. But it's just as frenetic and crazy as the other action music, but it's just is a bit different. And so I can understand why it was taken out.
Yeah, but some of it is there. Some of it is there from like Raptor Attack, because Raptor Attack has some very frenetic elements to it, but that's more like the kitchen scene.
Yeah, that's the kitchen scene. So this is when Ellie is restoring power, and I think it starts with torn off arm.
Mr. Arnold.
Mr. Arnold, right. And then I think it was supposed to play, I think some of it, if I can remember correctly, the more suspenseful stuff plays when Muldoon is hunting the raptors. Mm-hmm. And of course he doesn't take his own advice, right?
Yeah.
It's like they hunt in packs and he just like the clever girl stuff. So that's again, and I think when he gets attacked, again, you're going to hear the music just explode. And I think that was also supposed to play over top of that sequence, but it just plays more low key and really sinister. Like there's some tracked cues in there, and I guess we see the eyeball of the one raptor and the snake crawling across, and it's more
lovely.
It's way awesome. More sinister than the over the top scoring that John Williams implied. But it's still a great cue and should be heard, and I'm glad we have it.
Yeah. So what I'd like to do is actually play Hungry Raptor, and then play the cue Raptor Attack.
Oh, yeah. Raptor Attack. Well, that's something else. That's some great suspense horror music. This is film scoring 101 here, where Williams is just hitting every accent and doing it so well and just scaring the bejesus out of you while you're watching it. Like even I'm not sure, is it in this cue where you hear the choir?
I believe so.
As the raptor opens the door, learns how to open the door. It's just this low choir, this real kind of like religious sounding low choir, as if like it's like some act of God that the raptor is being able to open the door.
So let's go ahead and we'll play Hungry Raptor, and then we'll play Raptor Attack. So now we're getting into the mother of all action tracks. Not necessarily the first for this film, but one of them. And that is the T-Rex rescue. I don't think it's called that on the score. It's like it's part of the finale. Like it's the T-Rex rescue and the finale.
Yep.
I think it's funny in a way because they make the T-Rex out to be a hero.
Sure.
And he is, or she is. Rexy, as she's become affectionately known, makes this heroic appearance as the raptors are attacking the group. And that is frenetic right there because they have cornered them and it's 4 of them and they're just standing there and they've got these 2 raptors from 2 sides that are going to attack them. And then all of a sudden the T-Rex shows up and bursts through and like utterly destroys one of them. And then the other, he's so distracted by them so that way the group 4 of them can just escape. And Grant says to Hammond, "Mr. Hammond, I've decided not to endorse your park."
This might very well be one of the best action cues John Williams has ever written.
Mm-hmm.
It's just on fire.
Oh yeah.
But I also love the big timpanis,
Yes.
to that matches the raptor running towards Timmy, right? From underneath the raptor, and you just see the feet, right? So dum dum dum, and I love it.
Yeah, like with the freezer.
Oh yeah.
Timmy throws him into the freezer.
Yeah. Yeah. And then everything just explodes from there. With the exception of a kind of more, maybe just a little bit of dialing down the kind of emotions once Lex restores everything.
Yeah.
And you've got the island theme comes back as something very is more heroic during that part. But then, Grant starts shooting at the raptors, and then there's a whole giant chase sequence through to the Welcome Center, and it's all just absolutely nuts. Some just amazing action writing. It's just on, like I said, on fire. What is interesting though is the fact that for the T-Rex to be a hero, they inserted the Journey to the Island theme when the T-Rex shows up and saves the day. But in this cue, the way John Williams composed it, you don't.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure exactly where the timestamp is, but then we cut back to Grant and Ellie and the kids all take off. And that's where, he says, I refuse to...
I've decided not to endorse your
park. So at that point, then we're back into John Williams' original music, which has that classic fanfare at the end where like one of the greatest shots in movie history is where, the Tyrannosaurus
rule the earth.
Smashes the final raptor, turns around to the camera, lets out a roar, and the dinosaurs were there. I'm like, holy smokes, what a shot. Yeah. And so that's where you have that big kind of fanfare and the big thumping timpanis. And what's so great about that is John Williams in concert will now play Jurassic Park main theme, then the island theme, the B theme, and then to end it, instead of the way he ends it on the soundtrack, which is more subdued with the playing of the carnivore raptor theme, he then inserts this fanfare at the end to give it kind of a more pops ending. And so, but it's just so good. And I don't really mind the edit in the movie. It works.
No, it works really well.
Yeah. And I've played it with the original cue, and it's kind of like, all right, but this gives it something special and a kind of something for the crowd to cheer when the T-Rex pops up. So
yeah, exactly.
And look, I had no idea. I remember seeing this going, how in the world are they getting out of this one? I don't know, because that raptor was about to pounce. and I didn't see this coming. And that's what happens when you get involved into a movie and you just kind of lose yourself to the film. So any sort of sense or anything that you think you could think of, you're just kind of like in it and you're like, what's going to happen? And it doesn't matter whether you see it ahead of time or like you're able to predict it. You're like, I don't know what's going to happen. And I love the ending. Yeah, I love the fact that the T-Rex comes and rescues everybody. And it gives us, like I said, it gives us just this great shot. Fantastic shot.
So, sadly, we've come down to another end of Soundtrack Alley. And I'd like to thank Alexander Schiebel for composing Soundtrack Alley's theme music. Find his work at xanderscores.com. Also, Erik, I really want to thank you for being on the show with me today. Having me on the network and everything. I couldn't do as much as I do now without your network being available. And you can find my archive of the show, or like archives of my older shows, on soundtrackalley.com, through Anchor and through iTunes, and it's all at like Soundtrack Alley Spotlight. That's how it appears on Apple Podcasts. And then, of course, check out Anime Spectacular on Cinematic Sound Radio and find all the other programming on cinematicsound.net. Any last thoughts, Erik?
No, I'm just, I'm glad we got a chance to talk about this movie. And, again, just having an excuse to go back and revisit it. It's so much fun. And I could watch this any time of the day, any day of the week, any month of the year, and always.
That's why I have it on Vudu digitally.
Yeah, and it's always just, it's just so much fun. And there's so much music that we didn't even talk about. It might seem that this is all big action music, adventure music, big themes, sweeping themes, but there are some quieter cues. For my friend the Brachiosaur, like you said, the Petticoat Lane.
Remembering Petticoat Lane.
And there's some, but there is even some more frenetic action material. Like there's this really crazy, just over a minute track for when Dennis, after stealing the embryos, is racing towards the dock against some more great woodwind writing. There's some great kind of JFK inspired suspense music for when Dennis is stealing the embryos. So it's a wide variety of music and styles, and
it's a well-balanced album.
Absolutely. And it's not overscored. And that's what I find to be fantastic. It's like dialogue sequences are allowed to breathe without the, interference of music. And it really comes in exactly when it needs to come in. But also it's John Williams, writing great film music, like servicing the movie so perfectly, but also is able to, as he done so many times over the years, just transcend the movie. And it's just great music on its own. And that is the sign of a brilliant composer. Anybody that can do that, anybody that's also concentrating on writing for film and also writing great music for themselves, those are the composers that I appreciate and love and want to celebrate.
So, without further ado, we will play the T-Rex Rescue cue, and until next time, happy listening.
Thank you for tuning in to the Cinematic Sound Radio Network. I want to thank Tim Burton for providing his voice for all the bumpers and stingers you hear throughout the program, and David Cosina for providing Cinematic Sound Radio's theme music. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please email us at cinematicsound@yahoo.com. You can find us on social media at CinSound Radio on Twitter and Cinematic Sound on Facebook. And if you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, please take a moment right now to rate the show and write a brief review. Reviews help introduce potential listeners to the show. And while you're at it, head over to TeePublic to get a Cinematic Sound Radio t-shirt. And don't forget to check out Cinematic Sound Radio at cinematicsound.net.